Chapter 1. On conscription day, Violet Sorrengail prepares, despite her protestations, to attend Basgiath War College. On the insistence of her mother, the General Lilith Sorrengail, Violet is to join the deadly Riders Quadrant, where she will train to become a dragon rider. Unlike most cadets who have trained for years, Violet has only had 6 months to prepare, because she had always planned to follow in her now-deceased father's footsteps and join the Basgiath scribes. Her sister, Mira, confronts their mother about forcing Violet to join the deadly Riders Quadrant, and later prepares Violet with advice for surviving her first day. She warns Violet to avoid Xaden Riorson, son of the infamous Great Betrayer, Xaden Riorson, who led a failed rebellion against Navarre and killed Violet's brother Brennan during the Battle of Aricia. Xaden Riorson was executed by Violet's mother as a rebel, so Xaden likely hates Violet. As Violet waits to check in for the opening test that new cadets must face, she has a tense encounter with Xaden. After check-in, Violet offers another cadet, Rhiannon, one of her boots to wear, as she sees that Rhiannon doesn't have the right shoes for the parapet run. In a test of nerve and balance, cadets have to cross a dangerous, narrow parapet in order to pass the first obstacle of becoming a Riders Quadrant cadet. Many do not survive. Dylan, a friendly cadet in line ahead of her, steps onto the parapet and almost immediately slips and falls to his death. Chapter 2, Violet begins crossing the narrow parapet when Jack Barlow, another cadet, shoves someone off the ledge and tries to attack her. Although the parapet is soaked with rain and very treacherous, Violet manages to avoid falling off and makes it to the Riders Quadrant. Jack catches up and threatens her again, but she holds a dagger to his groin. She reminds him that he cannot kill her in the presence of other riders because they're technically in formation. Though he grudgingly backs down, Jack swears to kill her later. Violet knows she's a target. Chapter 3. Violet is troubled by her horrible exchange with Jack and feels sick from the adrenaline coursing through her. She's nauseous and has injured her knee, and she feels her panic escalating. She is relieved to see her childhood friend, Dane Atos, now a leader in the second wing, and one of the people Mira had told her to find when she arrived. Rhiannon and Dane help her out of the crowd, and Dane tells her wrap up her injured knee. He is horrified to see her in the Riders Quadrant and insists she switch to the Scribe Quadrant. Violet explains that she can't, and Dane frustratedly sends her off to rejoin the other first-year riders. In the courtyard, a professor named Commandant Panchek addresses the survivors. 301 cadets completed the parapet test, and 67 died. Violet and Rhiannon are first assigned to Dane's squad, but Xaden insists on intervening, reassigning them to his own fourth wing. During this disturbance, a group of dragons appears in the air. Violet stands her ground, but one terrified boy breaks and runs and is quickly burned alive. Xaden scoffs at him and reminds the cadets that to the dragons, cadets are hardly more than prey. Chapter 4, the next day, Violet dons her black cadet uniform and joins the other riders as the squad leaders take roll and divide them into groups. Dane explains to Violet that Xaden likely orchestrated her squad's transfer to Fourth Wing in order to kill her. She also learns about Dane's Signet power, a magical ability granted by his dragon, which enables him to see a person's recent memories and feelings. Violet is terrified of Xaden, but Dane reminds her that he has to stick to the college's rules and probably can't kill her at Basgiath. She heads to class, but Xaden is in hot pursuit. Chapter 5. Violet begins to attend classes. In her first battle brief, Violet listens as Professor de Vera explains a recent attack by Bravey Griffons on the eastern wing of Navarre's army. De Vera encourages cadets to question the details of the attack in order to deduce the Griffon riders' strategy. Violet uses her scribe training in geography and science to suggest that the Griffons' rapid arrival at the village was suspicious. She points out that it's odd that Griffons, who aren't strong at high altitudes, would choose to attack there unless they knew that Navarre's magical wards were failing. Jack Barlow mocks her, but de Vera responds that Violet is correct, and that a dragon sensed a faltering ward, allowing riders to get there and fight back. Xaden chimes in, suggesting the Griffons were searching for something specific, which makes everyone question what their motives could have been. Later during a sparring session with Professor Emeterio, Violet and Rhiannon agree to study together. Across the room, Jack violently kills another first year in the ring. When Violet is called to enter it, her opponent tells her that Violet's mother had her entire family killed. This cadet, a pink-hired girl named Imogen, breaks Violet's arm and dislocates her shoulder even after Violet yields the fight. Chapter 6. Dane takes Violet to the healer's quadrant, where the healers quickly deduce that Violet needs magical help to fix her wood. They summon a mender named Nolan, a rider whose signet power is healing magic. Violet knows him from childhood and also knows that mending is extremely painful. Dane argues that instead of mending her, Violet should be allowed to switch to the scribe quadrant. The healers give her a sedative, and Violet finds out from Dane that, like Xaden, Imogen's family were rebels whom her mother's army killed. That night, Violet returns to the barracks, in pain and worrying about the impression her quick defeat has given the other cadets. Rhiannon offers help with her mat training and gives her a note from Mira, along with a book her brother Brennan wrote to help Mira at Basgiath. It's an instruction manual on how to survive. Chapter 7. Wandering around near Basgiath at night, Violet climbs a tree to pick poisonous berries. She freezes, however, as she overhears Xaden, Imogen, and several other first years gathering below, apparently to discuss tactics for training. She realizes they are all marked ones, children of rebel parents, who are technically prohibited by Navarian law from gathering in groups. She's even more alarmed when she hears several of them talking about killing her, and Xaden proclaiming that he will do so himself. When Xaden's group disperses, Violet sneaks down from the tree, only for Xaden to confront her. He reveals his signet ability by trapping Violet in the shadows that surround her. He is a shadow wielder, a rare and dangerous signet. Violet tries to fight back, but fails. Instead of killing her, Xaden returns her weapons, asking if she plans to report the meeting. Violet promises she won't. Chapter 8. The following morning, Dane escorts Violet to duty, teasing her about her lack of a sex life. His friendliness makes her feel bad about keeping the gathering of the marked cadets a secret. She has hatched a plan to win at sparring. At breakfast, she sprinkles the powdered poison berries she picked the previous night into the food of the person she is slated to fight, a cadet named Oren Seifert. In class that day, Professor Kaori discusses dragons and their history, including the faltering magical wards protecting Navarre. He introduces Scale, the blue dragon Xaden rides, and then starts to talk about black dragons. Kaori reveals that Tairn, an ancient and powerful black dragon, has famously refused to bond since the death of his rider Nioli. Because he's so powerful, the signet he would grant a rider would also presumably be very strong, Kaori explains. Afterward, Violet privately confirms with Kaori that Niolin died after he attempted to resurrect Brennan, channeling too much power and causing his own demise. During their later sparring session, Violet faces Oren, who's sickened from the berry powder she fed him and loses the match. Time speeds up, and the reader learns that Violet poisons almost everyone she fights against in the weeks that follow. She's foiled, however, when one of her opponents is too sick to fight, and Xaden steps in. Chapter 9. Xaden challenges Violet in a mat session, taunting her that he knows about her reliance on poisoning opponents to weaken them before they spar. He spars briefly and easily with her, giving her some much-needed, if patronizing, advice on how to keep opponents away from her more vulnerable points. As they fight, she gets more and more distracted by how attractive Xaden is and how clear the sexual tension between them is to everyone around them. Violet prepares to die, but Xaden lets her go without killing her. Dane takes her to her room, massages her sore muscles, and reveals that he's asked the dean of the scribe quadrant if they would still accept her behind her mother Lilith's back. Upset, Violet feels he doubts her ability to survive, but reluctantly agrees to consider rejoining the scribes. Chapter 10. During a practice session, Violet and the other rider candidates navigate a grueling obstacle course called the Gauntlet, designed to weed out weaker candidates before threshing. They will have 9 sessions to train before their final performance determines their ranking for presentation, the ceremony where they meet the dragons and hope to be chosen by one as a bonded rider. Violet pushes through the course, mentally reeling off dragon facts to focus her mind and distract her from fear. A green dragon passes overhead, causing a girl named Aurelie to fall to her death. Violet decides to deliver Aurelie's belongings to her family, as she was the last to see her alive. That night, Violet notices Xaden with Garrick and Xaden's cousin, Bodhi, and eavesdrops on their conversation. Xaden detects her presence, dismisses the others, and speaks with her. He tells her that riders have to be resilient, and that each day he doesn't kill her helps him feel like a decent person. Violet admits that her physical limitations are keeping her from completing one of the gauntlet's trickier obstacles, and Xaden reminds her that, like in the sparring ring, she can always use her mind rather than her muscles to win. Chapter 11. When presentation day arrives, Violet and her companions have to complete the gauntlet to reach the flight field where the dragons wait. She takes Xaden's advice and puzzles her way through the course, using a rope to overcome the chimney she talked to Xaden about, and then her daggers to make it up the final few feet of the last barrier to the field. The trial isn't over, however. A wing leader named Amber Mavis accuses her of cheating, but Violet defends herself by citing the rule that any item carried across the parapet by a cadet is considered part of the cadet, making her daggers allowable. Although she gets penalized 30 seconds for using the ropes, Violet passes. Chapter 12. After completing the trials, 169 cadets remain, with Violet's squad ranked 11th of 36. The candidates nervously crowd onto the field to meet the dragons. To help the dragons learn about them, cadets are encouraged to talk among themselves as they walk past a long line of enormous potential mounts. All the cadets are curious about the dragons, but have been told they must avoid eye contact for safety until they bond with one. A small, golden, feather-tailed dragon at the end of the line catches everyone's attention, as feathertails are rarely seen and typically lack the physical power to fight or fly with a human on their back. A cadet named Luca jokes that the golden dragon is too young and weak to be taken seriously. The conversation turns to wyverns, mythical creatures that resemble dragons but are larger and more dangerous. Discussing them is frowned upon. As they walk, 6 cadets are gruesomely killed by the fiery breath of the waiting dragons. Sure. Here's your text, exactly as you provided it. Chapter 13. Threshing Day arrives. Professor Kaori instructs the cadets to spread out in the valley below the War College, where dragons will soon fly to select potential riders. As Violet scouts from a tree, she notices the small golden feather-tailed dragon and overhears Jack, Tynan, and Oren planning to kill it. They see it as a weak link. A horrified Violet tries to warn the little dragon, but she hurts her leg as jumps down from the tree. When Jack and the others converge on her furiously, Xaden steps in with his dragon, Scale, backing her up. Chapter 4 Fort. Jack disregards Xaden's warning and attacks Violet. She fends them off, injuring her opponents and forcing Jack to retreat. With Xaden's help in the fight, she knocks Oren unconscious, but as Tynan attempts another attack, the colossal black dragon Tairn arrives with the golden feathertail under his wing. Tairn incinerates Tynan. The black dragon startles Violet by suddenly speaking to her telepathically, urging her to kill Oren, though she refuses point blank. The dragon tells her to get on his back, and Violet can't quite believe her ears. When she can't get on because of her injuries, the dragon offers her his leg to mount, indicating beyond doubt that he has chosen to bond with her. Violet scrambles onto his back and they take off. The black dragon introduces himself as Tairnianach, but tells Violet to call him Tairn. As they fly together, Violet slips and falls, but Tairn catches her midair. Chapter 15. During their flight, Violet almost falls from Tairn's back several times, but he grumblingly prevents her from tumbling to her death, telling her that she will have to work on strengthening her legs in order to stay mounted. Violet probes him about why he chose to bond with her, and Tairn explains his choice. Saving the golden feathertail, Andarna proved to him that Violet was fierce and courageous as well as intelligent, and these are the qualities he admires in humans. He's far less interested in pure muscle or brutality. As they speak, Violet realizes that Tairn must be reading her thoughts, which gives her mixed feelings of claustrophobia and comfort. When they return to the Earth, the golden feathertail shyly approaches and requests to be allowed to bond to Violet as well. This is unheard of, but Violet warily accepts. She tells the roll keeper the names of the 2 dragons who have chosen her, and the gathering explodes in uproar. Chapter 16, Violet's dual bond stirs controversy among the generals, who shout themselves hoarse, disagreeing about what to do. Jack Barlow, who is bonded with an orange dragon named Beatty, confronts Violet but is startled by the news she has Tairn's protection. The Council of Dragons that lead the clan known as the Empyrean also gathers to discuss Violet's bonds. Tairn advises her to stay near Xaden while this happens so he can protect her. Violet learns that Rhiannon has bonded with a green daggertail named Farage. Dane tells Violet she should choose Andarna for safety, but Violet continues to be frustrated with him underestimating her. She learns that Tairn and Scale are a mated pair, meaning she and Xaden are now psychically linked, and that if he kills her, both their dragons will die. Dane and Xaden argue about how Xaden helped her during threshing. Violet feels disappointed, realizing that Dane is far more concerned with being seen to obey Basgiath's rules than with her well-being. The dragons return and the Empyrean breaks, having decided to approve Violet's dual bond with Tairn and Andarna. The dragons mark the cadets permanently with relics, sealing their bonds. Dane kisses Violet in celebration, but it only makes her realize she's no longer interested in him. Chapter 17. Now that Violet is an official rider, she no longer has to sleep in a dormitory. In her private room, she reflects on Dane's kiss, and later tells Rhiannon that it didn't feel as good as she'd hoped. At breakfast the next day, Imogen offers to help Violet train, an offer that Violet realizes was likely ordered by Xaden due to Tairn being mated to Scale. Later, Tairn continues to try teaching Violet to fly. Andarna is not big enough to carry her yet. Violet repeatedly falls from Tairn's back, but he catches her, narrowly, every time. Later that evening, she has a conversation with Dane at the sparring arenas where he tells her archly that they can't date as he's her military superior. Violet is, again, disgusted at his attitude and his unwillingness to bend the rules. Chapter 18. Violet visits the archives and runs into her scribe friend Xenia, who is working behind the desk. Violet requests books for her studies and a folklore collection called Fables of the Barons, the same book she was forced to leave behind before the Parapet trial. It was a childhood favorite of hers, one she used to read with her father, and it contains frightening legends of Venin and Wyvern. Venin are magic users who became evil through channeling magic without a dragon or a griffon, and Wyvern are their grim, human-eating, two-legged steeds. The cadets had briefly discussed them in an effort to appear calm and collected during the presentation day visit to the dragons. They had all dismissed them as childhood bugbears, stories their parents told them to keep them from misbehaving. Violet wants a copy of the book to remember her father by, as he made her excited about the magic and mystery of these creatures and of the Barons, the desolate land east of Navarre's neighboring country and wartime enemy Poromiel. Xenia expresses her worries about increased attacks along Navarre's borders and about Violet's safety. Violet's old teacher, Professor Markham, and some new scribe cadets join them, and he bemoans Violet having left the scribes to be a rider. When she returns to the Riders' Quadrant at midday, Violet learns that Sawyer, one of the first-year cadets, has manifested a signet power. He can manipulate metal. Later, Tairn continues trying to teach Violet to stay on his back. She's improving, but is far from safe yet. That evening, Dane criticizes Violet for not telling him about her struggles in flight lessons. She loses her temper and yells at him, declaring they'll only ever be friends because he prioritizes rules over trust and doesn't believe in her. In the shocking scene that follows, a cadet discovers that his signet is mind-reading, a forbidden power called being an intrinsic. He's publicly executed by Professor Carr in front of the other cadets. That night, 7 cadets who failed to bond with dragons attack and try to kill Violet. Andarna freezes time to save her, allowing Violet to survive. Chapter 19. While Andarna struggles to maintain her time-freezing power, Xaden bursts into Violet's room. The bond he and Scale share with Violet and Tairn has alerted him to the danger, and he's furious and ready to protect her. He uses shadows to restrain her assailants. murdering Oren on the spot by cutting his throat. Garrick and Bodhi, trailing Xaden as usual, remove the bodies. Examining Violet's injuries, Xaden takes her to a secure location outside Basgiath to speak with their dragons. Xaden asks Tern why he can telepathically speak with him but not Andarna. Andarna explains through Violet that because she's so young, she unintentionally shared her time-freezing ability with Violet. They also explain that all dragons start their lives as feathertails. They agree to keep this fact and Andarna's ability a secret, because Andarna and Tern explain that her life might be endangered if this secret about dragons got out. Chapter 20. The following day, Captain Fitzgibbon reads the death roll aloud. After the dramatic events in Violet's room, Xaden decides he isn't taking any more chances with Violet's safety. He asks a cadet named Liam Mary to act as Violet's bodyguard, despite her protests that it isn't necessary. Xaden then addresses the school, revealing the attack on Violet and implicating wing leader Amber Mavis, who fled before he arrived. Violet begs Tern to use his telepathic abilities to share her memory of the ringleader Amber and the others running from her room after the attack. Tern is reluctant, as memories are usually only shared within a mating bond, but he eventually agrees. Tern then shares Violet's memory of Amber's escape with the wing leaders, who are persuaded and unanimously sentence Amber to death by burning. Amber begs for her life and pitifully calls out for her dragon, Clade. Violet, realizing Amber is about to be publicly burned to death, begs Tern to be merciful, but he tells her that justice must be done. Tern carries out the execution, incinerating Amber. Chapter 21. Liam continues to shadow Violet closely despite her constant complaints. She learns that he is the son of the dead rebel Colonel Mary. He and Xaden, both children of executed rebellion leaders, were forced into conscription and raised together at the same estate. He explains to Violet how the crown took all of their possessions and houses and gave them to families loyal to Navarre, leaving him and Xaden with nothing. He also refers to his and Xaden's marks as rebellion relics. Later, in the archives, Jazinia provides Violet with the volume she asks for, and casually includes a scroll for Professor Markham. When it jolts off the cart as they walk, Violet sees that it details a recent, serious attack by Griffons on a mountain town called Sumerton. As she walks to class with Rhiannon, Violet thinks about the worrying fact that neither she nor many other first-year riders have channeled their dragon's powers yet, and wonders whether people know about the Sumerton attack. During class, Professors Markham and De Vera announce some exciting news. Instead of normal classes, the winners of the upcoming squad battle will shadow an active wing on the front lines. The class then turns to examining a battle that happened 600 years ago. Violet wonders if she might have failed to notice that the scroll Jazina gave her to bring Markham was classified, as the professors seem to be pretending that no conflicts have happened recently. November passes without any mention of the Sumerton attack in classes, convincing Violet that the report she and Liam found was classified. Liam's protection seems to be working in Violet's favor, as she hasn't been attacked in private since he began shadowing her. When Xaden and Violet are in the sparring hall together, Xaden angrily notices that Violet is not wearing the dragon scale armor Mira gave her. Violet is too preoccupied with watching Xaden spar to be angry herself, as she's suddenly consumed with desire for him after seeing him sweaty and shirtless. Xaden upbraids Violet for not wearing the armor, and she taunts him that he shouldn't care, as he wants to kill her anyway. Frustrated, Xaden reminds her that he can't kill her because of the dragon bond. In her room afterward, Violet ferociously brushes her hair and thinks about how much she needs to dispel her growing sexual frustration. Then, a wave of incredible power passes through her. She's channeling Tern for the first time. After the wave diminishes, some of the heat doesn't dissipate. She realizes too late that Tern and Sgail must be having sex and that she's telepathically feeling their emotions. She runs outside and bumps into Xaden, who is smoking an herb called Sharam to distance himself from the intense sexual urges. He teaches her a mind palace visualization technique to free herself from the worst of the telepathic transference. Tension between them escalates, and they both give into it and start kissing. Xaden pulls away, refusing to continue, because he believes Violet can't consent, when Tairn and Scale are interfering with their emotions. Chapter 23. Violet tells Rhiannon about her night with Xaden and learns that Rhiannon's signet has revealed itself. She can summon objects to her. Violet then confronts Dane over his controlling behavior, demanding that he stop trying to convince her to quit Basgiath and telling him that she's committed to being a rider for life. Dane warns her that there's more to Xaden than meets the eye, assuring Violet that he knows more than she does because of his signet. Violet insists that her and Xaden's mutually assured destruction will protect her. Xaden can't harm her without harming himself. Dane cups her cheek and accepts her decision, though the moment feels awkward. Back in class, Professor Carr reminds Violet that her siblings had powerful signets. Mira can summon protective wards, and Brennan was a mender like Nolan. Professor Carr's expectations for her are just as high. And Violet feels intense pressure to live up to the standard her siblings set. Violet spends the next month training and narrowly avoiding danger, but she is having trouble channeling her signet because she struggles to distinguish between her dragon's influences in her mind. When Jack finally challenges Violet in a mat fight, he illegally uses his own signet power of magical torture against her. It looks as though he's about to kill her, but at the last moment she whips out a phial of orange juice and smashes into his mouth, triggering a serious allergic reaction. She passes out and wakes up in the hospital ward with Xaden at her bedside. Chapter 24. Xaden and Violet finally discuss their kiss, but Xaden cuts the conversation off abruptly by telling Violet that since they'll have to spend their lives together working with their mated dragons, there's no point even discussing pursuing a romantic relationship. Violet is confused and irritated, but accepts what he says. The next day, he brings a Tyrish dagger he had made for her to the sparring room and insists on practicing with her. He spars with her, cheating briefly by using his shadow-wielding abilities against her to demonstrate how she might need to improvise in future battles. The class is training for their upcoming squad battle, and the days are packed with activity. After a brief scuffle about Violet balancing her time between physical training and practicing wielding magic, Xaden informs her that because their dragons can't be separated for more than a day or two at a time, she'll have to join him on the front lines next year. As she re-enters the War College from the outside, Violet stumbles into an awkward encounter with her mother, General Sorrengail, Commandant Panchek, and Colonel Atos, Dane's father. Violet deflects a question about Andarna's abilities and skirts another about whether Panchek might be allowed to study her. Xaden then insists that she accompany him and their dragons to practice better in-flight coordination. Chapter 25. It's finally time for the squad battle. Violet and Tairn come last in the gauntlet race, the first event. They do much better in the final mat challenges for the squad battle, where Violet's squad ranks 7th overall. Commandant Panchek then announces the last squad battle mission, which everyone was expecting to come the next day. Each squad, without their regular leaders, must secure a valuable asset that would benefit their enemies and without which they cannot win. Violet makes everyone on her team list their signets, and then decides that they should steal a war map from her mother's office, one with current details of troops and their movements. They successfully infiltrate Lilith Sorrengail's office, utilizing their signets to avoid the guards and get away scot-free, and they present the map at the ceremony the next day. It's by far the best offering from any squad, and it's met with thunderous applause. Chapter 26. The cadets fly to a forward outpost in Montserrat for a week-long tour after winning the squad battle. Although she's somewhat used to being flung around on Tairn's back for combat practice, Violet is aching and miserable after 6 straight hours of travel flying. When the squad arrives at Montserrat, Rhiannon pulls Violet aside and whispers that her village is nearby. Violet promises to help her visit, despite the cadets being forbidden from leaving. As they rejoin the group, Violet is swept off the ground in a bear hug by Mira, who is unexpectedly stationed at this outpost. The sisters burst into tears. 2 days later, Violet and Rhiannon attempt to sneak away to visit Rhiannon's village, but are intercepted by Mira. Mira is disapproving, but ultimately joins them, and they visit Rhiannon's sister's house. As Rhiannon chats with her sister and nephew, Mira asks Violet about Dane and warns her to stay away from Xaden. As they leave to return to the outpost, Xaden appears unexpectedly. He's come to join them because Scale needs to be with Tairn. The longest they can be separated, he tells Violet, is 3 days. Chapter 27. Xaden's arrival is making all of the other cadets uncomfortable, but he can't stay away because Gale and Tairn can't be apart. Violet's squad splits their time between observing the area and continuing their training in battle history. Violet notes with concern that Xaden's generation of marked third-year cadets will be the first riders to fly with the Navarian troops. Mira informs the group about an emergency that has pulled all the senior riders to the front lines, leaving third years at outposts for guard duty. She also mentions an upcoming training exercise called War Games and warns them they will need to understand battle strategy to survive it. Violet realizes she can hear Xaden's voice in her head, thanks to their dragon-linked bond. He flirts with her telepathically. Violet reminds everyone that Xaden can use shadows, and his signet could help them in battle. Suddenly, Xaden and Violet's dragons alert them to an approaching Griffon attack. Having just heard that Violet struggles to keep her seat on Tairn's back, Mira orders Xaden to remove Violet from danger. Despite her protests, Xaden distracts her with a kiss until Tairn arrives to scoop her up in his claws. Chapter 28. 2 days later, Violet is safely back on library duty at Basgiath. Xaden finds her and admits to her that he can't stop thinking about doing more than just kissing her. His feelings for her have shifted over time. She reveals that she's figured out how to talk back to him telepathically. Later, during a mat training session, she begins to telepathically interrogate him on topics from his favorite cake to how he got the many scars on his back. As the Basgiath College War Games commence, Violet's fourth wing must capture an egg while defending a flag against the first wing. Equipped with a special saddle to secure her on Tairn, Violet faces Jack Barlow, who seems to be hell-bent on doing her damage. At one point, Jack jumps from his dragon to Liam's to attack him with a sword. Liam almost dies, but Violet channels Andarna's time-stopping power to save him. She then turns back to seek revenge on Jack. Full of fury, she and Tairn fly to the tower where Jack has fled, and Violet summons a massive lightning bolt to kill him. She has the lightning wielder's signet. Chapter 29, Fourth Wing wins the War Games, but Violet is sickened and horrified at having taken a life, even if it was the life of an enemy. Everyone congratulates her, but she can't enjoy the victory. Xaden tries to comfort her by telling her she did what she had to, and he snaps at Dane when he says she doesn't have to use her lightning powers. Alone in her room, she grapples with her identity as a rider. Far from being a peaceful scribe, she is now a dangerous weapon. Xaden comes in to speak to her, and Violet is distraught and angry enough not to care that she shouldn't be getting physical with him. He tells her to do whatever she needs to in order to vent her frustration and sadness. She chooses to kiss him,